Alright, today's Friday, June 18th, I think it is. So, it's another video on my F-150. I'm gonna be trying to see if I can replace any of these AC components. So far, I've just got replacement hoses and a new receiver dryer. I'm gonna at least see if I can replace some of these parts today. But anyway, I've got, I believe, this replacement hose here going to the condenser, and this replacement hose here, which goes down to the compressor. So I thought I'd at least start with that, and then I can check for leaks. I've also got a manifold gauge set and some other proper tools. And I've got refrigerant cans with the UV leak dye in it, so whenever I get around to trying to recharge the system, I can check for leaks. So anyway, there was very little to no pressure in the system whatsoever. Even when I try to press on these Schrader valve needles in here, there's really nothing. And that's the high pressure side. There's nothing in there. Here's the low pressure on the receiver dryer. Nothing. So anyway, I think I also need to take off these R134A fittings so I can still have this retrofitted from the R12 system. Alright, I'm gonna remove these air hoses here to get them out of the way. And there's a clip on here, so it's clipped around this hose here that goes to the top of the valve cover, just so I can hopefully get down here and unbolt these other lines from the compressor. Now that I've taken these off, you can see just how leaky the oil is from the valve cover gasket. It's just dripping from the top down, but the whole side of the block here is wet. Alright, so I've got a 10mm socket to see if I can remove these other lines from the compressor here. That was on there pretty tight. I was almost afraid I'd need a small breaker bar. I also have this broken air hose here. I think it's just the cold air intake hose. I found replacements for those on eBay. Well, of course, they're kind of used or new old stock. Okay, that's unbolted, so now these lines here are free from the back of the compressor down there. Okay, I've got this most of the way out. I've also removed this hose here from the top of the valve cover down there. And this part here is just clipped in along the top of the firewall. So you just unclip these. Of course, this foam is all brittle and tearing apart. Then I've just got to disconnect it from here and take out this old receiver dryer that's all rusty. Well, these fittings here were so rusty I barely managed to get these apart. And you can see the old O-rings are still in place. Not sure if the new lines include those or replacements for them. Well, now I've got to figure out how to remove this old receiver dryer accumulator thing. So I think it's strapped in. There's like a metal strap or hose clamp type of thing. It feels like there's a little 8mm bolt tightening this strap onto it, so I'm going to try to loosen that and see if I can maybe get the thing out of here. Okay, so to get all this ripped out of here, should actually remove 2 8mm bolts. So the one here holds the clamp in place around the receiver dryer. The other one further back actually holds the clamp in place. So I had to remove both of those bolts to get this clamp out in order to free it, because it's looped around this curved part at the bottom here, and I couldn't get this out otherwise. So now I just need to get the rest of this line out. But even to break this part loose here with this nut was really difficult, because I had to get my big crescent wrench and pound on the end of it with a 3-pound sledgehammer just to break this loose. And you can see the O-rings are still present. Again, I'm not sure if the new parts include replacement O-rings. And again, I'll probably have to take these retrofit adapters off to reuse these fittings for R134A from the original R12 system. Okay, so here's my replacement line for this section here. Just gotta figure out how that comes off. I also need to figure out where to put the replacement orifice tube, because I did buy a replacement orifice tube. I think it might actually go down in here. Alright, now I've got my set of quick disconnect tools, so I'm hoping one of these might be able to pop this off. Okay, not 100% sure if I needed that tool or not, but I was able to pull it out anyway. So yes, the orifice tube should be down inside here. Okay, I've got the orifice tube pulled out of there. You do need pliers. It's in there pretty tightly because it does have O-rings, and the replacement one should have O-rings on it. There's a directional arrow usually on these, so it just has to point downward when the replacement one goes in. So there's the arrow there. I just dropped this on my newer car and got it all dirty. But anyway, before you put the new one in, you should soak this in, or at least lubricate the O-rings in some new refrigerant oil. Alright, so this is the PAG46 refrigerant oil as a lubricant. I'm not sure how much of this needs to be in the system exactly, but especially when you replace a compressor, for instance, sometimes you need to add some of this lubricant oil into the system. In this case, I'm not sure if I'm going to add any, or at least maybe not a lot, because I'm trying to just replace all these lines first, and then I'll make an attempt to recharge the system and then check for leaks. It's entirely possible that the compressor and or the condenser could have a leak somewhere. So anyhow, we'll get out the new orifice tube here and try to lubricate this a little bit. This one also has the arrow on here, right there. So this goes downward just like the old one. Gotta press it way down in there until it's fully seated. And there we go. Now I should be able to pop this new line on here. Okay, so I've got my replacement receiver dryer here, aka accumulator. So I'm going to take these protective plastic caps off and try to mount this on here. Now, this is a factory replacement, although being that it's a factory replacement, it still has the R12 fittings on it, so I'm going to need to remove my retrofit adapters from the old parts so I can still have the R134A fittings on here. Oh, I need to get up on the step ladder to do this again. That's the only hard thing about working on trucks versus cars. So I've got to be up on a step ladder and all bent over. Alright, that's threaded on there. I'll need to tighten it up with a wrench, of course. I'm still not sure if I'm going to worry about the clamp. Or maybe I'll make that decision after this is fully installed and bolted up. Imagine this is probably secure enough that it's not really going to go anywhere if I don't have the clamp on there. But of course it's all bent out of shape too at the same time. Oh, here's an old O-ring from something. But yeah, this is all just paint that was on the old receiver dryer unit, and just flakes right off from all the rust since it gets condensation on it. Okay, this is all tightened up with 2 wrenches, well, down here. Now I think I've just got the main line to the back of the compressor. The other thing I'm not sure about is this part here, because I think I also need to put on the pressure switch, which I literally just realized. Because there's a low pressure switch here for the low side that tells the compressor when to turn on, as long as there's enough pressure built up in the system. So I might actually need to remove that pressure switch from the old receiver dryer and try to put it onto this one. So here's the old rusty unit I pulled out of the truck. This pressure switch goes on the side here. Seems like this is coming off by hand, but it's only plastic. That's an old part. Hopefully this still works, and if not, hopefully I can find a replacement for it. So hopefully I can just thread this on, and I hope this will still work, otherwise I may need to replace this. Didn't really think about that. One of those things that's easy to overlook. And I'm going to put oil on my finger and just lubricate that O-ring too. Okay, let's put this low pressure switch on here. Got all these lines and crap in the way. Just get it good and snug by hand. Plug this guy in here. Also, what you may need to do, especially if there's no pressure in the system, like in my case, you'll need to just jump these 2 parts together with a jumper wire. We'll jump these 2 wires together here with a jumper, which bypasses this pressure switch and allows the compressor to turn on when you're charging the system, because again, like I said, if there's no pressure in the system at all, the compressor won't even engage. So that's clipped on there and all attached. Thankfully everything fits properly so far. Then we just need the main line here that bolts up to the back of the compressor. So I'm gonna have to do this off camera, at least part of it, to figure out how this should all be routed in the engine bay. So obviously this goes here onto the receiver dryer, and this portion of it here goes into those plastic clips along the top of the firewall. And then all this plumbing goes underneath, way down under there into the abyss. This part here bolts onto the rear of the compressor with this long bolt I set aside over here. And this area here is the high pressure line with your high pressure Schrader valve. It goes onto here to go into the condenser up front. And the rest of this is kind of just buried down in here below these air hoses. So as long as I can at the very least get this bolted to the rear of the compressor, I think the rest should be fine. Okay, we're taking a look down at the compressor here. So this appears to fit at a slight angle. Also, you have both the high and low pressure lines here coming from the compressor, and they're different sizes, so this should only fit on one way. Okay, I'm very out of breath, but I think we're almost done here. Oh, so far I'd say the hardest part was mounting this part with the two lines onto the compressor. And it's difficult trying to route all this without the hoses getting kinked. So I actually took this part off. Now I have to hope I can stretch this back over, but I don't know if I can now. I have to figure something out. And of course we've got this high pressure line here. But anyway, it's very difficult to route all this. Like I said, you've got all these brake master cylinder parts in here. This might be for the clutch. I don't even know, honestly. Okay, I think that's fitted on there. You also want to be careful that none of these nuts or fittings start to cross thread. So I think we've just got this line here and then the high pressure on that side, and I think that's about it, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, that one's oiled up. Just put this on there. Grab our nut. Need two hands for this too. These threads kind of appear to have somewhat of a Teflon coating or something, so I guess that's good, especially since this is the high pressure line. So then of course I'll need to put those other fittings on here, because these are still the R12s, I'm pretty sure. Just really small Schrader valves. And then of course our breather hoses. So these retrofit adapters to go from R12 to R134A are available from AutoZone and probably just about any other auto parts store. The only real problem is supposedly it doesn't last terribly long. You may just have to recharge the system with refrigerant every, I don't know, 6 months or every year, just depending on how it performs. So this original stuff is all just so nasty and old. don't think I saw any O-rings on either of these. So I just took this high pressure one off from here. That's all nasty and old. Filthy, dirty, rusty, everything. Original Ford canister, no O-ring on here. This one's barely still intact. You can just see the filth and corrosion on all this stuff. And this one too. So we'll go on with this high pressure one. And hopefully this should have a new O-ring already on here, which it does. And that's nice. I mean, I'm not sure if the original ones would have had O-rings on them, and maybe these new ones do, just with the intent that you'll put the R134A adapter Schrader valves on there. So, I think I left my wrench outside. And I got a new door pin for this door. Tighten this guy up. Okay, that should be on there nice and snug. Tighten up the caps. And then I'll be ready to try to recharge the system at a later date. I think everything's all connected finally. Even though this one here is still a little bit kinked. Hope that's not going to be too much of an issue, but I'm not sure if there's a whole lot I can do about it. Well, anyway, let's reattach these breather hoses for the intake. Well, I think that ought to do it for now. Pretty sure everything's connected back up. My rechargeable light died, but I'm gonna call it a day for now because I don't really have time to mess around with trying to recharge this at the moment. It's already 5 p.m. So I'll do that another day and probably make a video of the recharge process. Once again, it still might have a leak, but I felt like it was good to replace all these hoses to start with anyway. Okay, that's all tightened up. Now we've got a nice closing door, or not. No, it doesn't even want to open. Oh, Allie's gonna be upset. How does this not open anymore? What the heck? Oh boy, I pushed it open from the inside, but that's strange. That's why I was trying to align this thing with the old one, and why I draw the Sharpie line so it can hopefully be properly aligned with the door pin strike or whatever inside there in the door. I don't know, that's a little bit concerning. This sucks. I might as well just put the old one back on, for crying out loud. I don't know, guys. I'm kind of giving up on that one. I just put the old one back in here since I know it works. The alignment is pretty critical though, because it has a lot of room to move up, down, in, and out. side to side, whatever. So that's what kept the door from wanting to open and close smoothly. But also the gap here was really messed up when it wasn't opening. So I don't know. I'm just gonna keep that old one in there and not worry about it, because I only take passengers in this thing on occasion. This isn't my daily driver. I just have fun in it on nice days and stuff, so no harm, no foul, I guess. But anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed this video, found it useful and informative. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully in the near future. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.